Rossi. And it seems odd, dude. By the way, this is Life in Tech, episode 39. I'm Jason.
Hey, and I'm Dan.
It bugs me, man, that Hangouts, when you go live like this, doesn't give you like the little, at least up in the corner, a little countdown, because it's odd. Sometimes it seems like it takes 10 seconds, and sometimes it takes 6 seconds and 5. I've timed it several times now. From the time you click broadcast, the time it goes live. I don't know what the fuck it's doing. But anyway, hey, man, we're back. I was sick last week. Sorry, guys. It's been cold and rainy here, dude. Actually, like a California winter.
Dude, I don't even want to hear anything about how it's cold when I've been living in frigging 15 to 25 degree weather with snow almost every day.
It's 53 here right now, man. I have to run the heater.
Oh my gosh. You all got to put the heat on. You're probably wearing burqas.
Burqas? Oh man, where do you want to start? We were going to recap some of our predictions. I want to talk about the news that broke either late last night or this morning about the backdoor in WhatsApp, purportedly, allegedly. I don't know. I haven't looked at it myself, but that's what the news is reporting. Yeah, where do you want to start, man?
Yeah, the other part, I think just one of the things I just thought of that I think bears discussion. Everyone, and we talked about it a little bit on our last episode, when it comes to all the breaches that have occurred with the government, and yet President Obama focused on a private organization, the DNC, being compromised. Why? I want to know why no one in the media is investigating in one way, shape, or form why the DNC did not implement even to any acceptable level of cybersecurity practices. Where were the countermeasures? Where was their annual security awareness training? I mean, it seems to me that they were duped into phishing attacks, which wind up giving these malicious actors access to systems. I mean, where's their patch management? Were they even doing any vulnerability management? I mean, no one's talking about those things that a private organization that is heavily involved and has a ton of voter information, which is certainly PII at a minimum. At a worst, I mean, I don't know if they have Social Security numbers in there, but they would have donations possibly. They might have credit card information. They might have bank account information for people that did donations, because they have to at least track the donations.
Right.
So why? I mean, to me, that is a bigger story outside the fact that, whichever way you want to swing on the pendulum, at a best case scenario, Russia completely social engineered the election results.
Sure.
They fooled everyone into believing something, which is, and oh, by the way, I still don't believe social engineering is hacking. It is parlor tricks. It is things that you would see at a circus. It's not hacking. I just convinced you to give me your data.
So you're saying that Kevin Mitnick's not really a hacker?
He might have some tech skills, but social engineering, not it at all. That is not hacking.
I tend to agree with you. I mean, it's con man. I mean, let's call it what it is. It's conning people, which, okay, it's not that it's not legitimate as a technique, but let's not confuse the two things. I think there's a bigger point here too, man. I mean, how do we seem to continually, we as a species, get distracted by the messenger in lieu of the message? Because actually, and this is something you and I disagree on in terms of the story itself, but the exact same thing happened with Edward Snowden, right? Everything in terms of media and conversation became whether or not Snowden was a traitor and whether or not he should be extradited and prosecuted, so forth and so on. And everybody forgot that we were all getting fucking spied on and still are. And how that's patently illegal. I mean, forget whether you're for it or against it, or in some way you have to break it down to some standard. And in a lot of these cases, there has to be some legal culpability. I mean, because what other way do we have to redress the situation as a citizenry?
Yep. I mean, we want to focus on the things that are, in a lot of ways, the symptoms.
Yeah.
Not the root cause.
Right.
I mean, I would also be asking that same question, which I've said before, because I believe I could place equal blame on both General Alexander as well as Edward Snowden in that particular case. But No one wanted to focus on how did a contractor gain access to this data and be able to export that much data with no alarms going off.
Right. Well, and how did an agency get that much power to be able to do any of that in the first place with zero apparent oversight?
Well, what do you mean? They had the FISA court.
Did they? We don't know because it's fucking secret. I mean, we know the court exists, but
Yeah, and that they've never denied a request.
right. I mean, that sounds like a kangaroo
But
court to me, but
yeah, so we tend to not focus on the things that would actually matter. And if you fix those things, hey, okay, this already happened. DNC was compromised, we know, done. How are you going to prevent that in 2 years when there's another election that's up for the Senate? How are you going to prevent this in 4 years from now when we have another presidential election? There's nothing we can do about what happened in 2015 election, or rather 2016 election. But there's still something we can do for 2020. What are we doing to prevent this in the future? How come we regulate banks, we regulate healthcare, we regulate any publicly traded company? Why are our political parties not regulated when they have just as much PII data as anything?
and in fact, in some cases, maybe more because they're so centralized. I
Yeah.
mean, the DNC is the DNC for all Democrats. I mean, there's no alternative. That is it, right? It's a single repository of all that information, and it's monstrous. I don't know how they handle their payments for donations, but there has to be records. I mean, they at least know a total to a name, which I mean, I think there's.
look, I've
I was
never
just going to
really.
say, I think there's valid arguments to real quick. I think there's valid arguments on both sides of this, and I don't know which one I fall on necessarily. But if I donated money, I don't know that I want everybody to know that I did that.
Yeah.
I want a choice to make that transparent or not at a minimum.
Right. So, I think that's something that we just, as a society, we start focusing on the actual result of what occurred, but no one is focusing on the human errors that were made for some reason that put us in that position to have been compromised in the first place. If the organization was doing everything possible and they got hit by 0 days, great. But when did you detect that data was being exfiltrated?
Right, because that's never a 0 day. I mean, there's no way to hide that.
Right. Okay,
I mean,
a vulnerability existed and you didn't know about because there was no patch available. All right, I'm willing to give you a pass on that portion. But when did you start noticing that data was being exfiltrated?
Yeah. I mean, because bits have to travel on some type of media. So,
Yeah.
well, and there's actually a more abstract point here, and I think we've hinted at this over the course of the shows. But why is it so easy to fuck up? So humans are full of error. I mean, we fuck up constantly. We know that. We're very fallible, despite what some of us may think.
I know I'm not. Hey,
So-
well, my only New Year's resolution was to help you to become a better person because I'm already perfect.
Oh, I think we're the Wonder Twins with DXS, man. That guy's. Did you see that tweet he sent me this morning?
No, I didn't see it.
He just out of the blue said, I want to say nasty shit to you, but I'm going to take a deep breath instead. Why do you want to say nasty stuff, man? I've never said one bad word against that guy. I've never called him a name. I've never said anything bad about him. And that guy just wants to attack. I get it, man. Listen, I'm like John Coffey in the Green Mile. I'll absorb all your demons, bro. I'll give you a big hug. But anyway, so why can't we figure out how to use technology to make our lives easier in automation, automating factories, right? Automating manual work. We figure that out, but why can't we figure out how to use the technology to make our security life better? You feel me? It's so easy to fuck it up, and for whatever reason, we don't want to innovate technology to prevent us from fucking up, but we're fine innovating technology to like block it. Or protect it somehow, which really just makes it worse. I mean, you and I share that same opinion. You're just increasing your attack surface. There's just more shit to fuck up. It's so bizarre to me.
I don't know. But that was our one divergent.
Yeah.
I don't have much more to say to that. I think we're focused on the wrong things.
I agree.
It's what are you gonna? I mean, I'm gonna know what they're doing to prevent it from happening again. I mean, thank goodness I'm not a registered Democrat. No one's coming after the Libertarian Party. We don't have enough.
Well, and so here's the last thing I'll say. So,
All right.
the RNC and the DNC, these are the organizations that are supposed to be the collection points, if you will, for you as a citizen, if you're registered with that party. So why don't they just crowdsource it? I mean, there's tons of us in both camps that would be willing to help, probably for free, just as citizens. I mean, maybe give me a break on my taxes or something, right, in exchange.
They do volunteer stuff all the time. I mean, and volunteer work would be, you could say that you volunteered and your time is worth $150 an hour and it took you this many hours. Therefore, you donated X dollars. That's the way I would look at it.
Right, but they could mobilize their own registries. I've never seen, as an organization, the DNC or the RNC or any really party come out and say, hey, we need your services for this, especially technology. I see a lot of, hey, we need you to come out and hold a fucking sign. No, man. No, why?
They still have people doing like dot matrix tests, punch cards for ballots. I mean,
fucking hell.
Anyway,
man.
So WhatsApp.
Oh yeah. Let's talk about WhatsApp. This is a big story. Apparently, earlier in the spring or early summer, somebody submitted a vulnerability to Facebook that had to do with a backdoor. And it's able, I guess you're able, according to the reports. I haven't looked at the code. I haven't looked at the app itself. I'm just reading the news, so take this for what it's worth. You're able to essentially access protected messages. And if that's true, that's a big fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
That's a serious issue, given the changes to WhatsApp. I don't remember if they did the changes before Facebook acquired them or after with the crypto. Something like that. Anyway, man, nonetheless, that's a big problem. And that's a big problem for Facebook, especially given Facebook's, and this is what we were saying in the pre-show, in my mind, let's assume that this is fake news and it's not true. And there's not really a backdoor that allows you to
Well, we never see fake news on Facebook ever, so.
And that is exactly my point. Exactly my point, man. That, I mean, let's assume it's fake news and it's not true. The fact that Facebook's involved, I can't imagine once this story gets some more traction over the weekend and maybe next week, that the general public's not going to be like, what the fuck? I mean, not that they're really going to do anything about it necessarily. And I know I'm a little cynic there.
Actually, I don't think the general public even understands any of this. So they're going to, I think it'll be a non-story. It's only going to be a story for us techies.
I don't know, man. I'll give you a prediction, and this maybe is a connection to last week and later today. The news is going to somehow take this and connect it to the Russians. Watch. I'm serious. I'm not fucking around. Watch. Somebody's going to connect this to the Russians. As much as it may be true or untrue, I don't fucking know.
Oh, because Facebook wants to be inside of Russia, and this is part of them, part of the deal.
They support Trump.
Here's what it comes down to, I think. Of course, you're going to have cryptographers that are going to find a weakness in any protocol at some point in time. It does not matter. There's an expiration. And the people who created the algorithm, of course, are going to be fighting fiercely that this could not have happened. But the realm of possibilities exists. I mean, in what I read, essentially what could happen is that, so this is, whether, just because a backdoor could potentially exist does not mean that access was granted to the backdoor. Okay, so that's one of the things. We have nothing at this point in time to believe that Facebook, by owning WhatsApp, has given this data to any government agency. But I do believe that they probably do have a backdoor because it's Facebook. They want to collect the data because you are essentially the product. And they want to know about what you're talking about because they want to be able to deliver better products and better advertising to you. So what was it? It was Tobias Balter said that you could force unique encryption keys to change and leave unsent messages open to man-in-the-middle attacks. The possibility exists. Doesn't mean that we have any evidence in the wild that this has occurred.
Right. I agree.
So people should make that distinction when we're talking about this. Yes, the possibility exists. We have no evidence to believe that it's been exploited, but yes, WhatsApp should do something in order to close that or change their privacy policy. It says, yeah, we do this because we're snooping on you. We don't register necessarily. I don't know how they would be able to not have the user ID, but look, they're probably doing it in order to be able to get data about you so they can better position Facebook products and advertising.
Sure. And and I'll be honest with you, man. More and more, I think to myself, all these companies, all of them collect data. I mean, this is the 21st century marketing, and if you're not thinking that way, especially as a marketer, you're behind. I mean, you're far behind, and you're not going to succeed. Mm-hmm. I would have far less of an issue with the collection of all this data if the collection policies were transparent and we all had equal access to all of the data.
Yeah, why is the data itself not open source?
Right.
I don't want that. I don't need their algorithms for how they're going to utilize the data.
No.
I mean, that's intellectual property. But
Mm-hmm.
data itself, if you're going to collect it, it should be available. I mean, I don't care if maybe it's not necessarily, true open source. If you want the data, you got to pay for it, type of thing. I'd be okay with that also. Accessible because they've collected it. That required effort. So I don't have a problem with the data being licensed.
Yeah. As long as for the individual it was affordable, I wouldn't have a problem with a subscription fee to an API. I'm fine with that. Just don't limit it. I mean, don't limit it to so many calls per minute or whatever, like some companies do. But nonetheless, the probability, I would argue that the probability that there is something there is high. The probability of somebody other than internal agents accessing it is probably very low.
I agree with that. This is, so we've both dealt with bug bounty programs in the past. So the thing that the public needs to understand is that the people that are involved with bug bounties, they're trying to make a name for themselves also. And it is in their best interest to find things and to make them public. That is the double-edged sword that you deal with bug bounty programs, because you want people to find vulnerabilities so you can close them. And at the same time, you need to know that the researcher is going to go public with it because that's how they make their living. So accept it. Don't fight it. It is, our policy when we were at Silent Circle was, thank you, may I have another.
Yeah.
Even if I disagree with how the researcher may have done something, I still said thank you, because I knew the game we were getting into.
I think that's why it's also important to keep the payouts low. That prevents you from getting extorted. I mean, even if the submission's trash, if I'm only paying, let's say, a couple $100, I mean, in the scheme of things, so what? You save me some time. So it's a minimal outlay, and you don't have to get into really judging the quality of the submission beyond a few standards. But when you're paying like 10, 15, 20K for a bug, the quality of that bug has to be so high to justify that expense. I don't want to be extorted like that.
Well, and that's why I always looked at, and this is the way we did it at Silent Circle. Based on the CVSS that we gave it is what depended on the payout that we gave.
Yeah.
It's at least a way of removing our biases. And the other part that comes to look at is how much time did this save us from finding that? So if this would have taken us 100 man hours and our average developer rate is $100 an hour, well, that is a potential payout. Maybe discount whatever, but there's a way. I mean, I don't want to keep it so low as to where we're going to increase black market activity.
Right.
But it needs to be as if I was paying an individual contractor in a
Yeah,
lot of ways. I want it to
yeah,
be fair, but that means fair on both sides.
right.
And I didn't. This is a big reason why we only ever really disclosed two numbers. It was the minimum, and then if it reached a particular CVSS with the minimum of that CVS. So there was a big gap in between the two, and then there was a big gap on the other end. So
Yeah,
you knew a medium and you knew a low end. But you weren't going to go submit the vulnerability to us and or say, hey, I have something, but how much are you going to pay me for it? No. I still don't negotiate with terrorists.
yeah. That's just straight up strong arming. I mean, I've been watching enough Sopranos to know how to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So
Uh, so we'll see, Matt. We'll see how this story breaks out. I didn't see it last night. I just saw it this morning. So it broke sometime in between late last night and early this morning here. I don't know, man. I bet I'm predicting, man, it's going to come out that somebody's going to connect this to the Russians. It won't be connected to us or Facebook itself necessarily, but you watch, man. You watch.
yeah, well, I've been connecting everything to the Russians at this point. It's popular, so might as well. I was
Well,
speeding the other day. The police officer asked me why I was speeding. I'm like, I don't know. I thought some Russians were coming after me. He laughed and he said, "Get out of here!" And I didn't even get a ticket. But not lying. It was hilarious.
I
He's like,
believe it though, man. It's Red Dawn all over again.
he went. He's like, He goes, "You're not serious." I'm like, "Well, hey, it's popular to blame everything on the Russians these days," and they looked Russian. I mean, not that you could ever. I mean, looking at someone, you can't really tell.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was just, I mean, I wasn't doing that much over. I was only doing like 12 miles an hour over. But
Allegedly,
still,
allegedly.
well, that's what he caught me at. Um, but anyway, yeah, I just blame everything on the Russians at this point because why not? Everyone else is doing it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can't believe how. I mean, it's far transcended even the concept of a meme at this point. It's normative. It's normative to have. I mean, and you and I both grew up in the '80s with post McCarthyism and Reaganism, Cold War bullshit, and all the the Iron Eagle, Red Dawn movies, Us versus the Russians, and all this shit, right? And I don't remember it being this bad. And of course I
Well,
was a
Iron
kid.
Eagle, what I thought were Iraqis.
No, I thought it was the fucking Russian. I don't. If nothing
I'm
else,
pretty sure.
Clint Eastwood did that fucking movie with the Jets and the Russians.
Oh, that one, yeah, yeah. But Iron Eagle was the one where the kid winds up getting in with Louis Gossett Jr. And I'm pretty sure
Yes.
that was in the Middle East.
Fuck it. Let's look.
Oh,
Now
it
I
might have
want
been
to.
Iran. I bet you it was Iranians.
Iranians, Russians. What the fuck is the difference, dude?
They were both MiGs because they were just getting
Yeah.
the old MiGs.
Iron Eagle, Wikipedia.
Louis Gossett Jr. I don't remember the character that played the teenager.
Let's see. Oh, you're right. You're right, man. It was. It was. The dude's dad got taken down over the Mediterranean Sea by an Arab state.
Yeah. So that means Iranians. That's code for Iranians because in the 80s, that's what, well, actually, we've been against the Iranians ever since, the revolution happened in the 1970s. We're like, yeah, we don't really like the Ayatollah.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, we were the cause of that. So directly, I mean, it's not even. It's like an open. It's not even a secret anymore. We're like, yeah, fuck it. We'll topple your government. Yeah. Oh shit. It was Iron Eagle. Yeah, I was wrong. I admit that. I must have been thinking of the Clint Eastwood one where you had to like think in Russian. Remember that?
Oh, yeah, yeah. But I think Iron Eagle 2, which happened
Maybe.
over Alaska, was Russians.
Maybe. Well, and which Rambo was it with the Russians? Was that one or that was two, wasn't it? Not three?
It might have been 2 for that one because one was, they were still back in,
Yeah.
they were at homeland
Yeah.
here in the U.S.
But the boogeyman, man, the Russian boogeyman. I don't get it.
I don't know. All right, so onto
Last,
our predictions.
yeah, man.
Right.
We'll wrap it up with the predictions. What do you
So, well, we made our predictions last time, but we wanted to kind of make fun of ourselves a little bit.
got?
Well, so I'll cherry pick 2 of the ones that I was able to go through. So one of them I said I believe a CIO would have been fired for a major breach. Well, that didn't happen. As a matter of fact, I couldn't find any record for any of the breaches that were major that occurred of anyone getting fired. So that has to be a first, because most of the time when one of these breaches occurs, someone's fired. I didn't see any record of that. But I was accurate on this prediction when I said that I guarantee 2016 will not be the year that we care about passwords. And still, that didn't happen. And I also said that 2016 was not going to be the year of the endpoint, because, which is also true. But I guess at some point, I'm going to be wrong, because I'm going to keep saying it's not going to happen as long as everyone else keeps saying it is going to happen. So eventually I'll be wrong, but my one loss record will be much higher than theirs.
Well, and on that note, I think maybe we were.
Well, that's like playing The Price is Right. I'm just going to bid $1 over.
Yeah. You'll get it. I think we were maybe partial. I think it's fair to say we were partially right, maybe a quarter right about the death of antivirus. There's certainly
there's a lot of machine learning people came up. Cylance, CrowdStrike, Palo Alto's gotten into that game. So is Cisco, even Checkpoint. They bought a company that does it. So I don't know what McAfee and Symantec are doing with this, but or Kaspersky.
Waiting for a company to buy probably. But yeah, I also see a lot more discussion about the relative value, and most people seem to think it's negative, of having antivirus installed. I talk to people and find that more and more people aren't using antivirus at all. So yeah, I don't think we were totally right on that, but I think we were partially right. It's trending towards being correct.
Hey, I think we're more accurate in our predictions than some of these experts.
Yeah.
Definitely the vendors who are pitching their own product. I mean,
yeah, and we talked about that before, and I just don't understand how more people aren't like immediately suspicious. Well, no, I do understand it. But it boggles my mind. Hey, wait, you have a problem, and I have the one thing that can fix it, and it's going to cost you this much.
I love these vendors who create a product and then they go searching for a problem.
Yeah. Or on top of that too, the idea that when you sell products, I mean, they don't have the product that they're selling you. They're selling you so you can pay them to go build it. People don't seem to understand that.
A lot of times, yeah. I mean, here's the thing: most corporate America is Windows, okay, and with that, you are just about as safe using the built-in Windows endpoint protection, and you can validate this with VirusTotal. They catch just as much as McAfee and Symantec on a routine basis, and then go out and get something like a Cisco AMP or a Palo Alto Traps or a Cylance or a CrowdStrike to give you the additional things. I mean, I like the aspect of being able to see the IOCs. I like being able to know what CVEs are applicable to every one of my endpoints. Antivirus doesn't do that, but I'm starting to see this with some of these alternative endpoint protection, which goes up. It doesn't have antivirus. As a matter of fact, they even have built-in things that say, "Oh, you have an antivirus? All right, you need to do the following things to make sure the antivirus doesn't interfere with us and we don't interfere with it." So,
right.
That's a way. Now we're talking defense in depth on the endpoint for really the first time.
I think so, man. I think so. I think it's definitely a step in the right direction.
So, yeah. So I have one last thing to close, which was really burning my ass this week. So I happen to really like shopping at Backrack. It's a clothing store. And so I tend, where I'm at right now, there's not one close by. So I decided to order online. And they emailed me back saying, "Hey, it's on hold until you send us a scanned copy of your driver's license." So I called them up. I'm like, "I am not giving you my driver's license. Why do you need this?" "Well, it's an online order. You haven't ordered with us online. We need to assure identity." I said, "So let me understand something. You want me to put my personal identifiable information in an unsecure platform?" Yes, that's our policy. Well, it's not my policy to do that. And why don't you have it as a customer portal? Well, this could be put over in SSL encrypted, well, really TLS 1.2, hopefully. But why not have a portal that says, hey, you're doing this online. We need to validate your identity. They can do that. They can see the things match and then, go away. Nope, they didn't want to do that. And I said, well, then you can just cancel my order. I'll just wait till I'm around and go to a store. But I said, so I filed a ticket with them. And I said, hey, here's the situation. Please have your CISO give me a call and I'll instruct him or her on the proper measures for cybersecurity, because clearly you all don't know the first thing about it, because you were going to have my PII data sitting in an email for who knows how long, where, and when you all are breached, now we can just add that to the list of things.
Yeah.
Because clearly you all do not understand the concepts of cybersecurity.
Well, and people forget that in a lot of regulatory frameworks, hard copy is part of it. Like in PCI DSS, receipts that have even obfuscated cardholder data need to be dealt with. And they need to be dealt with in very specific ways. So who knows how many assholes print that out and just leave it.
They said a lot of well, we had a couple customers concerned about that, but the majority of our customers are okay with doing this. And I'm like, I'm not.
How does that make it right? I'm not talking for everybody, bitch.
Yeah. What? I said, but don't worry. I said, I'll continue to talk about this, and I'm going to write some articles on it, and that, hey, you're just, you're neglectfully storing personal identifiable information on all your customers. How do you respond?
Yeah, that kind of shit irritates me too, man. I had a situation about a year ago. I bought a somewhat expensive part for one of my bikes, and I'd ordered from the company before, just not this much, right? It was a few $100s. And they called me and they're like, well, we need to identify you because of the amount. And I'm like, well, I mean, you accepted the card. I was logged in. You didn't have a problem before. So I don't understand, A, why you want to do it now just based on price, and B, what gives you the idea that it might be fraudulent, and C, how you think you're going to prove that I am who I say I am over the phone.
Like, and then, you think I can't just create a fake driver's license real quick?
Yeah. So they wanted like all this information over the phone. And I said, fuck no, give me a number and I'll call you back. Oh, we can't do that. Well, then I ain't giving it to you. Too fucking bad. I'll order the part from somebody else. So they capitulated, thankfully. And here's the crazy thing too, man. They're just like a few miles down the road. I mean, they're not that far away. I could have driven there and gotten it. It's just more efficient because of the traffic to order it online and have it shipped here, because it gets here like the next morning.
Yeah, anyway, I need to check. I wonder if they charge my credit card.
Yeah, well, and there's laws around that. Like, the one thing that chaps my ass is the people that stand outside and want to look at your receipt. No, fuck you.
Oh, no, I don't. I just keep walking.
You already took my money and gave me the goods. You have no legal right to detain me.
Yeah, I just walk every single time. I've had a couple, try to stop me, but they won't touch you. They know if they touch you, it's lawsuit. I mean, there's a ton of case law on this.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if the alarm goes off when you go through, that's different. But if it doesn't, I'm like, hey, if you don't like it, call the cops. I'll be out in my in the parking lot putting my stuff in there. I had one guy follow me out there and write down my license plate. Go right ahead. No cops ever showed up. I mean, I can't stop them from doing that. But they can't get in front of me. They can't do any. It's really, they shouldn't have followed me. That's probably against their policy. But I didn't really care too much to turn the guy in.
Costco's the worst, man. For me, it's Costco. They chase you and yell at you and try to embarrass you. No thanks.
Yeah, I don't care.
I already have possession of the goods.
Yep. I have a receipt in my hand. I'm not showing you. I'm not. One, you're not a law enforcement officer. Two, even if you were, I would tell the officer, do you suspect me of a crime?
Right.
What crime do you suspect me of? Where's your evidence? Because you're going to do this, and I have no problem lawyering up. Mm-hmm. So anyway,
but it's crazy the way people think they can deal with it, and this goes back to where we started. Actually, instead of just using technology, it's so easy.
Yeah, it's quite odd.
Yeah. Well, that's it, man. Episode 39. This Life in Tech. I'm Jason. This is,
and I am Dan. We'll see you all next week.
Yeah. Bye, everybody. Have a good weekend. Bye.